Hello, hello. Band Derek, hello. Geodon early for the first time. Let's go. Good timing from you today. And hello, Ivan. Anybody else in the chat, do put something. Just whilst I set up what we're going to talk about, I'll put the Wolves team out, or at least something of a Wolves team. How should we do it? Let's do it with something like this. Ooh, wrong thing. Okay, so that's. I don't know why I said Wolves. I meant Palace. Wolves was last week. Chelsea mostly playing in 4-2-3-1. I still see it as a 4-3-3 personally, even with Palmer as a what people would they want to call him a 10. For me, it's still 2 8s. Obviously, it's easier on paper to call it a 4-2-3-1 just because in your head, Palmer is a number 10, Enzo is a number 6/8, so it's just easier to interpret it in that way. But the way we defend and the way we attack, I still see it more so in the same 4-3-3 type system, becoming more of a 4-1-4-1 at times, as Maresca did at Leicester. That's how I see it. Catman. Oh, that's not letting me bring that up. Not letting me. Hold on a second. There we go. Wasn't letting me bring up the what do you call it? The chats. Hello, Catman. Hello, Uzir. Hello, Stefan. Hello, Money Mikes. If you haven't already, do drop a like. We've got nearly 100 people in here. Hello, Aaron. What's up? I'm good. How are you? Not too bad. We're going to talk about the game a little bit, and we'll answer some questions, and we'll just sort of go with things from there. And we'll talk about, like I say, the Palace game, but then we can talk about other bits and bobs. Obviously, we're seeing Sancho in there today at training. How's that? How's people feeling about that? Seeing him in a kit now, sort of in training, makes it feel very real. What else? Palmer dropping out of an injury from the camp. Seemingly, it's muscle tightness or fatigue, which is a better sign. But yeah, right. Let's get to the important questions. Why have Palmer dropped into the hole instead of Enzo? Yeah, I got this one a lot, so we'll start with that. And then I'll go to, hang on, Azir said, second half after the goal, we were sloppy in the final third, giving the ball away cheaply. I agree with that. I think for me, that was more so due to the fact that we then upped the tempo. If you haven't watched my video that came out yesterday, go watch that. That explains everything in detail in terms of like how I think it happened in the second half and like what went wrong. But as we started to speed the tempo of the game up, it just became more basketball match, more end to end, to the point where, as you say here, it got sloppier. There was looser touches in these areas of the pitch, and it was just turnovers. Like there was a point where I think there was probably about four. So it was Chelsea attack, Palace attack, Chelsea attack, Palace attack in about a minute. So it's like pretty much four attacks, 15 seconds each, just pure transition football. And like you said, it just made everything sloppy, and we just lost our rhythm. And Maresca's alluded to it. You can see it on the day. I think that's the main thing that went wrong in terms of what went wrong in the second half. Apart from that, I was still extremely happy with the performance. I actually think we regained control. It was just a bit too late. We got the chances from regaining control with those late ones, and we just didn't take them. If we do take them, people probably give the credit for retaking control, but because we didn't take them, that's what happens. Agreed. Yeah, I think Sancho starts against Bournemouth as well, purely because he's at camp right now. Like he's there with Maresca, whereas Neto isn't. So I have a feeling it could be Madueke and Sancho as the starting wingers against Bournemouth, but we'll see. We'll see. It'd be good to see him start, or at least get minutes. Henderson was very good. Yeah. The players just went on last season's mode and we need to change that. Maresca doesn't want end-to-end game. Yeah, exactly. It just sort of went out. We lost the rhythm, like I say. Maresca said we lost our way, and I completely saw it that way too. Let's talk about Enzo dropping into the hole. Well, Palmer into the hole instead. So as I said, if you haven't watched my video yet, I sort of explain it in that. But what we sort of saw, and we'll talk about it, because it is probably the most prevalent thing from this game. Whoops, what did I do there? Is you had this 3 behind this 2. Okay, so you was creating that 3v2 with the 4 at the back against the pressing 3 of Palace. So you had the 4v3 here and a 3v2 here. Okay. Do you watch much EFL? Yes, quite a bit. Dependent on who's like what is on. Because if I've got other things to analyze and watch, it's not like in my top lists, but I do watch a fair amount of like midweek fixtures when they're on. Catch up with all the bits that I don't see. But yeah, I do watch a fair amount. Where are we? No, I don't think I have seen that actually. Where did you see that? As a hi Daniel, and I don't have any more news. No, don't have any more news on Parma. Hopefully it's just fatigue. Like that's what's been coming out. We'll speak about Sancho in a little bit, Catman. Let me just get to the original question, which was this. So the way I saw this, as I said, you had the 4v3 at the back and the 3v2 in this line here. The idea for me was the reason it was Palmer dropping in more often, and let's also get this straight, it wasn't always Palmer dropping in. Gusto dropped in on a few occasions, and Enzo actually did drop in on a few occasions into this little spot here when it sort of shuffled, and then the ball would get into him so that he could then put it through in like little combination plays. But the idea here was to almost have these attachments as such, so that Palmer could be the free man. So the way I saw it is the reason Palmer was dropping in deep was that if he dropped into here, he's either one, going to attract somebody towards him, space, or they're just going to try and keep him within their little pentagon, is what I would say. But of which case, this is Palmer. This is Palmer, who of these players, Enzo's the best passer. Gusto's probably the most athletic, what he is of those 3. But what Palmer has is probably the best ball retention in terms of he can receive it on the half turn, he can spin out either way, he can recirculate the ball, and he can carry that out himself as well, which he did on a few occasions. He sort of received in between the 2, and then a few times he'd sort of receive it on the half turn, so the ball would roll across his body, and he'd receive, and he's gone. And all of a sudden, here you've now got 6v5. So the reason I think it was Palmer is purely to allow him to be the free man when we did escape the press, and to let him be the trigger and the key man in attacks. The goal came from it. Yes, it was Madueke's making on that side. Palmer made the run, and then the assist comes from Palmer. And I said it at the start of the season, I do think Palmer is going to be the primary playmaker of this team. I think you're going to see less goals from Palmer, but I do think he's going to be more involved in everything behind the ball, because I just think he's got too many good assets to not use them. And which is why I didn't want him to be a touchline winger, because I thought it'd be wasting him. I personally thought it'd be wasting him, putting him out there and not allowing him to do everything else that he brings to the team. Because I think he did this role really well. I think the only thing that sort of hindered him as the game went on is that he was dropping into these areas and dropping in really deep because he was getting a little bit impatient. And I think this came from the tempo change. As the tempo got a bit faster, Palmer, it seemed he got more visibly frustrated with a few of his own actions, to the point where he was dropping deep, looking to get the ball and really trying to force the matter, which didn't allow Chelsea to regain control. In fact, what it actually did was stretch the game more. So nothing on Palmer. He's absolutely class. But I do think that as the game went on, I actually think it suited him less and less, because I don't think him dropping deeper was by Maresca's design. I think it was more Palmer's frustration and sort of agitation to get on the ball. if we're to put it that way. Yeah, you got frustrated. Yeah, I agree. Cole Palmer's not fit for the next Premier League match. I would play Nkunku in the 10. Yeah, I think I agree. If Palmer's not fit, it's probably the best, or at least as the number 8. So it'd probably be. So it depends on where Casado plays as well. But yeah, maybe Nkunku is 1-8 and Enzo's the other 8. It was on TalkSport. That's that what he was on about. What about second half when he was dropping and Palace was just keep their shape? Yeah. So yeah, I'm assuming that's what we spoke about. Should not start over Nkunku. I disagree. I think he's too important to the team. Enzo. The passing, receiving, just everything he gives you in that role, I think he's too important. He can drop in. He can play in multiple like hybrid roles. He got scapegoated a lot of the weekend, which really baffled me. But yeah, completely disagree with that. I think he's really important. Whether people praise him for it, we'll see as the season goes on. But no, I would not be dropping Enzo at all. And Kunku and Felix is dual 10s. They would cook Palmer's right wing. I don't think having all 3 of them in the team is effective. I don't think you have anywhere near enough runners in behind. I think you have 3 players that all are going to be attracted into the same space, and it's just going to get clogged up. I think if anything, what you'd do by doing that is Palmer would just become more ineffective by clogging those areas. So yeah, not for me. Who's going to be the right back now because Augusto being injured and Jane's not ready? I mean, I'd like it to be Acheampong. Well, I'd like him to at least play, but I mean, it's a good time to also experiment with the Casado inverting, especially if Lavia is back available. But I'm gonna try and leave that for the next stream because I'm gonna do a sort of what do we call it, a preview stream about that separately. But it's either Casado starts right back and inverts. It's that he either starts Disassi at right back, which I don't want to see really, or Acheampong. Gecko's just put it as well. Yeah. It would be for me, those 2, and Disassi would be my third choice out of those 3, but you're right. Pardon me. There's a good chance Disassi starts, isn't there? There just is. What advantage is having the 3 in midfield outside of Palace's pentagon? Right, so the idea is, obviously, the pentagon is never going to press like this, because then you're just going to leave those balls over the top too easy. So these 2 are always going to be at least slightly more passive. Okay, so the back 4 have only got to worry about these 3 as the main pressers. So that means you get the advantage here of 4 at the back. So you've got 4v3. Okay, that's that. Then, like you said, what's the advantage of having the 3 in midfield outside the pentagon is that you basically allow yourself 2 ways of stretching things and winning overloads. So if you drop, let's say one drops in, Palmer drops in, you've now got somebody to link play, whether that be out in that way, that way, that way. That's your link, but they can arrive in the space, link play, and then exit the space at the same time. Because then what it also gives you the opportunity to do is to split the pitch like this. And if you can find a way to go direct, which is something they were trying to do with Casado, like this, or Colwell, like this, is if you can find one of those passes, you now have the 6v5 here because you're behind the pivot. If the pivot were here, then of course this wouldn't be a 6v5. It would be a 7 or 6v7 essentially. But because they're playing outside of the pentagon, if you do manage to go direct, you've got 6v5 against the Palace back 5. And if you don't, then you can still drop one into link play and then exit. So it sort of works in a few different ways. And again, sometimes it would be Gusto would sort of play in this little bracket. Enzo would play in this little bracket to sort of receive, to sort of be on the edge so that it's sort of occupying here. And then Palmer had a bit more freedom. But it could have been Gusto dropping in, Palmer would sort of drift into here, and he could maybe receive through the lines. And again, it was just a little bit clever from Maresca. It's something different, something they wouldn't have expected. And just a clever way of knowing exactly how they were going to press and how we was going to find our way around it. What's that, Daniel? Got some new on Cole Palmer. If I see Disassi, I'm going to be fuming. Annoys me how he defends. Yeah, I really don't want to see him at right back at all. And Kunku's position is concerning to me. It looked like Maresca's experiment to find a fit. What would you do in the team in order to make him work in this team? I'm gonna do a video on this next week because I've seen it on social media everywhere that do we have a Nkunku problem, essentially being the premise of it. Um, do I think we have an Nkunku problem? No, I don't, because I think that what you have with Nkunku is you have a player who can play the nine, a player that can play either side as an eight, and if you really want to, you just saw that he was brought on the right and he can play on the left. So you've literally got a player who gives you tactical versatility everywhere. Same as Felix, in my opinion. They're the same sorts of players that give you that tactical versatility everywhere. For me, I think just let it play out a bit more. But I am going to do a video about it, and I sort of agree with what Gecko's just said. And Kunku's just unlucky that Palmer's so good because that would be his role. That is, in my opinion, his best role in this team if he had full license to every role. But as I also said, the second Maresca was appointed, I do think Palmer's going to be ahead of him to getting in the role he wants. And I think Nkunku's more versatile that you can put him elsewhere on the pitch as a Swiss Army knife to the point where it's going to hurt Nkunku more than it's going to benefit him. So I did say this as soon as Maresca was hired, but he's still going to be an important piece for the whole season. Do I think Sancho's arrival pushes Neto to the right? No, not necessarily, because I do still think long term, or at least if players are fully fit and performing, I think Neto and Madueke will be the two starting wingers. But it depends on form, because if Madueke falls up, like really starts to struggle, then Neto of course could play on the right and Sancho on the left. Um, and like I say, if Sancho's really playing well, but Neto's not hitting the ground running, then Neto might not play, and it might be Sancho on the left, Madueke on the right. As things stand, the two best wingers are Neto and Madueke, in my opinion. I would continue to start with them, although against Bournemouth, I do think that we could see Sancho here instead of Neto, just because Sancho's had that time with Maresca over the international break. So let's just see. But I don't think it pushes him over. I think the good thing about them is that a lot of these wingers can play both sides. So especially with Neto and Sancho, they can play left and right. So it gives you sort of a little bit more flexibility on who's on form. Exactly. Like Gecko just said, they can rotate. We have lots of good games. Where are we? Southgate is such a clueless manager. Kept Palmer on the bench throughout the Euros. Palmer, Foden, Saka. Oof. It's tough. I love Palmer, and I think of all of them, Palmer's the most fun to watch. I just think I don't know. It's a hard one to judge, in my opinion. I think it's a disservice, no matter how way you sort of word it, because I think all three of them are absolutely unbelievable footballers. So I'm going to avoid that one for now because it's too tough of a question to go over on a Wednesday night, and I nearly said Tuesday night, so that says everything. To me, it feels like the further away Enzo is from the box, the more genius you see. In the box, on the edge of the box, he doesn't get the time to sort his feet out. And yeah, I do prefer him deeper. I've always said that. I prefer him as a deep progressor. I don't mind that being in this area, which I've touched on a few times when he plays in the eight, but he drops into this sort of channel because I still think that gives him a brilliant variety of passes that he can play. But I agree. I prefer him deeper because I just do think that it unlocks a little bit more of his creative potential than you get higher up the pitch. But he's a good receiver on the half turn as well, and he is clever enough to like sort of play those little dinked passes in these areas. So it just depends on the game, and it depends what sort of you're gaining from it. So I like him as a hybrid eight, but it has to suit him with the rest of the team and how it's built. Levi Colwell, what a centre back we have in our hand. Show people what he's so good, isn't he? Like it's the passing range. Like when you because again, when you're in this, when it's a back four in that left centre back, he's angling for these sorts of passes, and he just does it with such disguise. It's just perfect. But then like little driven pass into here, which is exactly in a game like this. That's exactly what you're trying to do. Is you're trying to get it through these sort of gaps, these passing gates. Let's call them these blue lines. Colwell is a cheat code for that. He's an absolute cheat code for that. So it really is important. And then same again if we're playing in the ignore the personnel. Actually, I'll do that because I know somebody will join and they'll understand. If we was playing in that setup, then What was I saying? If we was in that setup, then Colwell's got these passes in his locker, again, from a central zone. And he's so comfortable on the ball that he can just pretty much do everything that you need him to. He controls it in every way. Massive fan of Colwell. And Fofana. I think he's been brilliant too. I did see this, Daniel. But they're optimistic that it's just fatigue, which is good. So let's hope so. People keep saying we should have got a world-class centre-back. I have full faith in Cole and Fofana. I think both can be elite. So do I. I think they're perfectly balanced. The only reason I would have liked another centre-back through the door, and it wouldn't have been a world-class now centre-back. It would have been more likely a potential, or at least a defender that can do a job now, but also can improve, is because I'm still slightly hesitant on Fofana's long-term fitness. I want him to be the long-term right centre-back. Absolutely. Like, no questions asked. But you have to take into account that he has had injury problems. So let's see what happens there. If he can stay fully fit, then I'm more than happy. But I'm just slightly worried because if he now leaves the team and he gets injured, then it's Tosin and Disasi, and neither one of them fill me with confidence. Tosin, I don't mind, but more of as a backup central centre back. And then neither of them neither of them give you the assets that Fofana does, that aggression, the sort of explosive nature of defending, the recovery speed, just everything like that. It's just Fofana's just so good. We just need to keep him fit. I think Enzo needs to play on the right hand side. I think I prefer him on the left, but he can do a job on either side. He's clever enough to do a job on either side. But I just think my favourite pocket of the pitch for Enzo is that left sort of dropping into that left channel, a little left pocket. Both looking good and building a partnership, absolutely. The whole defence needs to be built to optimise Colwell. Yeah, I agree, and I also agree that I think it already is. I think Colwell is your less aggressive, your more controlling and sort of elegant defender. Then next to him you have Fofana, who's your aggressor. And then you've also got another one next to him in Cucurella, and then you've got Gusto or Reece, who's a bit more of a recovery, calm on the ball. They're all technically astute. Colwell still gets to be in his best positions for passing angles. So yeah, I do think it's being optimised towards him. Anselmino maybe recall. I just don't know if he'd be ready straight away, but I do really rate him. I can't wait for him to come in. Like, he's one of the ones I rate highest. That does remind me. Tomorrow, I'm going to upload a video which is going to be ranking every signing that Chelsea made in the summer transfer window, and in that video, so I'm going to go through mine, and then in the comment sections of that video tomorrow, I'd like all of you guys to rank yours 1 to 10. So it'll be Jorgensen 1 out of 10. Don't do it now. Do it tomorrow in the comment section of that video. And then I'll go through them all and see how close they are to mine and stuff. So keep an eye out for that tomorrow, because I'm very intrigued to see how all you guys rank each and every signing that we made throughout that window. So keep an eye out for that one tomorrow. Where were we? Still very confused. Still very confused on why Maresca decided to go with Casado. Oh, got the wrong one up, sorry. Decided to go with Casado right centre back and find a right back method. Yeah, see, no, I don't agree with that. I don't think it's hard. I think this was on purpose. So obviously, by having Casado here, you're getting the passing range of Casado, which is slightly better. And here you're getting the carrying potential of Fofana. Again, something we actually utilised a lot. So I think what it was is you're gaining the asset gain that we got was better passing from here, better carrying from here. So the movements was to allow that to happen and to allow both of these players to be the progressors at the back end of the pitch. And I think both of them did that perfectly, down to the T. I think they were both excellent. Cole and Casado are doing that. And it also allows Casado to defend forwards rather than recovering backwards, which I liked. Where Gusto can recover backwards, Fofana can jump, Casado can jump, Enzo can recover backwards. Not as quickly as Augusto, but he still did it on quite a few occasions. So I didn't mind the setup. I think it optimised people quite well. Because Gusto isn't. Because then you're saying that Fofana would have to be as the 8 then. So yeah, Gusto can play that well. But the whole reason, that's not how the rotation works, because Casado wasn't starting as a centre back; he was starting as a midfielder, and he was dropping in between the two as like a halfback. to then allow that rotation to happen. So if you wanted Gusto at right back in that scenario, that would then mean that your centre back has to push into that zone of the pitch. So that's why. Plan-wise, Maresca got virtually everything right on Sunday. I agree. I think, yes, by the way, Ninja, it will include Penders and Esteval. To ask who was sent to accommodate Pies and Esteval, yeah, you can do that in that. And yeah, it will include all of those. It will include the youngsters too. Because I think it's just it would have been predictable. I think it's his way of sort of switching things up. Again, the diamond was purely more so because Inter pressed in a 2-3. So when there's only two strikers pressing, that means that you can have three at the back because you've still got a 3v2 there. Then the diamond would have been like here. Okay, so again, the idea here is that you've got a 4v3, but and that worked against Inter. But now the second you do this, you've now got a 3v3 in that area of the pitch. So you're not gaining an advantage at the back, which is the most important place to have one, because if you're trying to play out with, if it's just 3v3, they can just force you to go long every time. And if they trust themselves to win that ball, then it's just going to get messy. That's not how you control a tempo. So the best way to control the tempo of a game is to have the overload at the base and then work your way forwards from that. So yeah, that's essentially why I think we didn't go with the diamond. Didn't quite give you the overloads needed. Because just because they play five at the back, it doesn't mean they press the same. Like I say, the lines of pressure matter. Inter press in a 2-3, so 2 then a 3. Palace press in a 3 then a 2. It depends on those lines of pressure and as well how aggressive they press too. So the reason Casado was dropping into right centre back is because he had better passing. I think to better his passing, to give him a little bit more time on the ball, facing forwards, and also to defend forwards. So I think it was a host of things. But also not even just for that, just also to gain the 4v3 at the base. But I also think the reason that Casado was here instead of Fofana was to maximise those balls directly across to find that 6v5 here. Is how I'd put it. Palace's biggest threat was Eze. It's logical to put Fofana against him as he's very good to man mark and recover. Yeah, again, that was when the ball broke. Obviously, when we regained, like when we was in like shape again, it was more like that. But yeah, especially on the break, that is also true. Fofana's probably your best recovery defender against someone like Eze. Just worry sometimes. Maresca is maybe overcomplicating it for younger players with less game IQ. But that's the point of Maresca being brought in, is like he's got to teach them now whilst they're young. It's actually a good time for them to learn. And players like this, especially in the modern game, they have to be so tactically versatile to the point where it's only going to enhance their game. And they'll be working on that through the entire week. Like this shape won't have come out of the blue. This 4, like the 4 here, the 3 behind this line of pressure here, like that would have been worked on all week, and you saw it work. It literally, we saw it play out, and we saw it play out successfully. The result wasn't successful, but we did see a successful performance in terms of what was wanted from the setup, in my opinion. Kelvin said that makes sense. We're still a diamond, but with Palmer, Enzo, Gusto, Jackson. Yeah, you could say that at this end of the pitch. Obviously behind that pressure of 2 and between the back 5 of Palace to create something a little bit different. There's probably a tactical reason, just to understand why Enzo can't be on Palmer's place where he would drop deep to progress the ball. Like I said, that would then mean that Palmer's not the free man. Surely you'd prefer Palmer to be the free man than Enzo, because say Enzo drops in, he's a bit more stagnant when he does drop in. I love him in these deep areas, but for the sake of this exact game plan, Enzo drops in, stays a little bit more stagnant, And then when that ball does progress, you have a 5v5, not a 6v5. Whereas when Palmer was doing it, they're attached. Palmer's dropping in, he's free, he's spinning out. And then when he does spin out, like I said, that's now a 6v5. So it's what you want from each player. Enzo is more of he'll drop in deep and he'll play something a bit longer, or he'll drop in deep and he'll play a little clever pass into this area of the pitch. But that's usually where his involvement ends. Palmer is a little bit more all action. He'd want to drop in, he'd want to spin out, do something himself, a little connection, a little flick to link play, and then receive the ball again and drive inside. Like it's combination play with Palmer, whereas with Enzo, like I said, it's a little bit more static, not in a bad way, but just not quite for the game plan. And like I say, I think you'd rather Palmer be that free receiver than Enzo for the exact role that you're asking him to carry out. So that's how I saw it. Any more questions? We're going for about half hour. I will say I'm fine with Enzo being the free man over Palmer because Palmer does better at losing or beating his man. Yeah, what I mean by free man though as well is that that like I say, if Enzo then stays, no matter what, that's only ever going to be a 5v5 if Enzo doesn't join. Whereas the sort of idea of Palmer dropping in to then join was that it became a 6v5 no matter what. So again, it's weighing up the 5v5 versus the 6v5, the man overload. I understand if your idea of the free man would be that Enzo is dropping into these pockets as the free man, then I'd agree. To progress the ball against a back four, for example, then makes a bit more sense. But against a back five, where you need it to be 6 players on the last line to overload them, otherwise you're only going to have 5v5 at any point. It's a numbers game at the end of the day. It is a numbers game. Possession against Bournemouth, yeah, I do, because they play in a more traditional 4-back pressing system, more 4-4-2, 4-2-4, under Iriola. So yeah, we'll touch on that in the preview. But yeah, I do. In short, I would expect we return to the 3-2-5 in some capacity. There's a pass that Palmer received from Sanchez, and he spun out the pressure and ran at their defence. That's exactly what I mean as well, because he's receiving in this passing gate, but then also exploding outward and creating overload there. So yeah, you're bang on. When/if Reece gets fit, do you think it stays the same with him instead of Gusto, or does Cuckoo invert? I think we'll see Cuckoo invert at some point or another, but again, it's just game dependent. I think some games Gusto's better off in these areas of the pitch. I think Gusto's better at driving forwards with aggression. Also, I think Cuckoo is better at defending, facing forwards, and being the aggressor. So I like Cuckoo playing as the left centre back personally under Maresca because I think it suits what Maresca wants from his defenders more. But at some point, I think we will, and we could easily see Cuckoo invert. So if that's something you're waiting to see, it's definitely something that could happen soon. I'm going to quickly refresh the stream and see what likes we're on. We're on 21 likes, but we got about 40 odd people in the YouTube. We've got nearly 300 odd, 250 on Twitter. So if you are on Twitter, please jump over to the YouTube, drop a like on the YouTube, and then you can go back, watch on Twitter, whatever you like. But just dropping the stream a like on YouTube does really help me out far more than watching on Twitter. So please do just come over and drop a like. That would help me out a lot. Do you think Maresca will prefer inverting Casado or inverting Cucurella and playing Fofana cold? Right, so I mean, it wouldn't be Badiashile as a right centre back, so no, in that sense. What you could be onto something with is inverting Cucurella and playing Fofana. Oh, okay, I'm with you now. You mean Badiashile was the left centre back? Cole will playing as a right centre back with Fofana. I kind of see what you're trying to say, but I think what you'd maybe be more likely to see is Cucurella inverting, then have Colwell, Fofana, Disassi. But I'm still hoping it's Acheampong or Casado inverting from right back. That's what I'd prefer to see. But that's the thing with Acheampong at right back, you could still invert Cucurella because Acheampong is more of a fullback centre back hybrid, so he'd probably be better in that right centre back role. coming from right back into right centre back, part of the three. Why can't Jackson drop in like Palmer? How do you mean? Was a midfielder here? Because his job in this game was specifically to sort of, again, he's pushing this backline. He's pinning the backline backwards. That's what the striker's in there to do. In other setups, Jackson can drop into this spot to receive the ball. But with how the game plan was, his job was to at least occupy two defenders and pin them backwards, which again, sorry, I keep burping, which he did quite well. I think Cuckoo should invert versus Bournemouth. Back three at Cole, Fafana, Tosin/Josh. That would be good. I'd like to see that. If Pong starts next game, surely that means Cuckoo inverts. Yeah, like I just said as well. Yeah, I agree, Seb. But very possible. Who would you rather have as the third centre back, Reece or Cuckoo? Oof. I mean, obviously, well, that's tough though. Because I was going to say, obviously, if everybody's like fully fit, then Reece. But Cucurella just fits Maresca's football so much. I'd still say Reece because I just think he is the better footballer. But Cucurella just fits so well and he's just so important. I just think his aggression is so important under Maresca. I think he's really, really good in that spot. According to your sources, coach doesn't want to play Disas's right back. I hope not. As Stefan said, just like the stream, please. Any updates on Lavia? No updates from what I know, but it looks like he's at least in training again and could be fit for Bournemouth, as you've said here. So yeah, hope for the best with that. Is our Conference League game starts in October? I believe so, yes. Is the first one Ghent, I believe. About flexibility, our squad is immensely versatile, our manager's dream. We could literally adapt differently for every game whilst keeping our principles. And this is exactly it. And the inverting player also almost doesn't matter. And this is completely correct from Money Mike's. And I said this when Maresca joined the club. What you're looking to equip somebody like Maresca with, who sees the football pitch as a chessboard, is you're trying to equip him with as many different profiles as possible, as many different possibilities, and then he can then make things happen with his players. And again, you're giving him a talented group of players. This isn't just a group of different footballers that can merge together. You've given him a really talented group that all have different attributes. And I think we're already starting to see the flexibility that he can bring with that. And I can't wait to see more. I can't wait. Achimpong would force Fafana central centre back and Cole left centre back. Yeah, this is true. This is true. It's not the end of the world though. The other option, I guess, would be playing Achimpong sort of further forward and dropping Casado between the lines, almost like a half back again from centre back, the number 6 between the two centre backs. So again, it's something that maybe Maresca would tweak to help gain the correct assets that are needed. So if you need the passing of him, then you move him backwards, being Casado. Maresca surely understands that. So long as the right players occupy the right zones to create overloads, we're good. Yep. I wouldn't start Palm versus Bournemouth if he isn't 100% fit. Even if he's our best player, we can't rush him. That's why we have Felix and Kunku. Yeah, I agree. If he's not 100% fit, I would play one of the others. I do agree with that. What are your thoughts on Osman versus Sesko? I believe we'll sign one of them. Maybe we try to reach a pre-agreement. I'd love Sesko. Osman is still my absolute dream, though. I think he makes the biggest difference to the team in terms of gravity and sort of just what he would, the amount of respect that defenders would have to put on him in terms of just coverage. So Osterman is my dream. Sesko is my backup the whole summer, and then my other one that I said all summer long that even if it wasn't for Chelsea, I was just saying all summer. I don't know how many of you guys remember or follow me on Twitter because I post loads about him on there as well. Is John Duran? I think he's going to absolutely explode this year. I feel like I'm already being justified in that with his 2 goals off the bench already. But he would have been it would have been Osimhen, Sesko, Duran as my like sort of 3 strikers. Which formation does the player suit better? What player was he talking about? Cole Palmer nominated for Ballon d'Or. I did expect that, but that's huge. That is huge. Have a fear that Nkunku would be pushed out next season. I think either way, I think he's just going to stay around as just unless like a big offer comes in for him. I think he's the sort of player that you don't really need to force him out because, like I said, he's a bit of a Swiss Army knife. Like he will just get minutes as long as he's fit. He'll get minutes in multiple different areas of the pitch. So I don't think it's too important, like too big of a deal if he doesn't. Thoughts on the rotations in the attacking third? Didn't seem enough when Palace were in a settled low block. I think it was better early on, like with rotations, the things you're more looking for is like you're trying to get the 1v1s here. So the rotations you're going to see is more like those runs from the eights into these areas, or like little this player driving in, so then the eight has to do the sort of underlapping run. I do think there's still a long way to go with that. I would say I think relationships are still brewing. I think with a lot of new players like Neto, one of his first games, so I do think that still needs a lot to happen. But I'm not like worried about them at all. But I do think there's a way to go. Are you happy that we've pushed out Sterling? Pushed out seems horrible, so like I'm not happy he's been pushed out, but like I am happier with the four wingers that we've currently got in the squad than I am with Sterling. So yeah, in that sense. People don't realise how lucky we are with Maresca. Yeah, and I'm so glad we've got Maresca. He's my exact, like, he was the dream manager for me, not the dream manager, because obviously I had other managers ahead of him at the time, but he was near the top of my list. He was sort of in the top. I think he was third or fourth in my like overall list, and then in the narrowed down list, he was literally second behind De Zerbi. Um, and and even now, like he's taken it to another level of how much I love him, because I just think he's so endearing with the fans, and just the way he sort of talks about football, his principles are everything I wanted in this team. So yeah, we are extremely lucky. Hate international breaks, yeah, so do I. So do I. Don't mind them for scouting. Make scouting quite easy sometimes because there's a lot of you can watch a lot of players in one go. Um, but other than that, not for me really. Not for me. Unless it's a tournament. I enjoy like the Euros and World Cup. Maybe we can rest Fafana and play toss-in. Fafana's going to have a long enough break now, though, so I think that's okay. I think it'll be okay. I'm assuming that's for Cole Palmer from Bancho. What formation do you think our players suit better? Again, it's not really formation based nowadays. Like it's a 4-3-3, but it converts into 5 or 6 different formations on the pitch. It's less formation and number driven in terms of what the formation is. It's more to do with the game plan and the principles. So I wouldn't view it as a certain formation other than a 4-3-3 base, literally from the get go. But apart from that, it changes straight away anyway. Need to be serious, otherwise they're a decent team. I'm taking it you mean Bournemouth. Think he'll want more minutes. I don't think he'll be okay with sitting until last 10. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I don't mean like a Swiss Army knife, like literally using him as 10 minutes off the bench. But I do think that he'll play a lot more than that, because at the minute we're not seeing many injuries in the attacking line. They will come, unfortunately. They will come. So that at that point, you'll see more and more minutes when competition ramps up. When we're playing every 3 days. I mean, the Conference League games he's been playing, he's been starting. So like you have to think if when they're coming thick and fast, plus injuries, plus big games off the bed, like he'll get plenty of minutes. And if he's in form and he's smashing it, then he will start even in the Prem games. So I'm not worried about him yet, but I am going to do a video about the Nkunku problem next week. And the reason I'm doing that is because I've seen it all over social media, and I don't know whether I agree or disagree at the minute. I disagree in the sense it's an issue, but do I necessarily disagree that there's a notion to be had about his name and his place in the squad? I don't disagree with it, because I said at the start of the season, I said that he might not get his primary role. So we'll talk about that in a video next week, because we're on international break. So I'm going to be bringing out 3 or 4 different videos this week. So tomorrow, like I say, we've got a transfer video coming out where I rank all the transfers. Sorry. Oh. So when you swallow like the wrong, feels like goes down the wrong hole. Basically, just swallow air. So yeah, tomorrow transfer video, ranking transfers out of 10. Friday we will have. Friday's quite a fun one. I think people enjoy that. It's a 5-game review, so it will basically be talking about little aspects from each of the 5 games so far. So the 3 Premier League games and the 2 Servette games. So obviously after each game we've done a review, but I'm going to just sort of tie them all together, and then we're just going to sort of see what we think as an overall 5-game review. And I might try and do that after every international or during every international break this season. Just to have a little review section of the section that's happened before that international break. So say the next one's 8-9 games, then we'll do it like that in little blocks. So that could be a fun one. And then next week, I think I'm going to do a Sancho video and an Nkunku video, as well as the streams and so on. Bancho, Sancho, Paez, Palmer, Esteban. That's a fun front four behind the striker, for sure, at some point or another. In terms of squad building, who gets sacrificed next year when Santos, Ugochukwu, Paez, and Esteban show up? Maybe see Paez going on loan, but the others have an argument to join the squad. It really depends on who's performing and who's not. It really does. Midfield wise, again, it depends. If KDH doesn't hit the ground running, it literally, as silly as it sounds, he's a year in. Carney's obviously, Cassaday will probably be sold. So, like, those sorts of players. It's tough. It's tough to say. It's tough to say. Love seeing Maresca get fully involved in the training, but yeah, that was cool. And in the little training drills where he's sort of holding somebody off. I can't think who he was holding off, but he's proper getting involved. It might have been Dewsbury Hall, actually. Any early predictions for this season, Connor? We'll touch on that on Friday. Because I don't have anything like massively brewing. But yes, and Esteval versus Kendry this Saturday. Thankfully, something other than international. Sancho, Nico, and Enzo linking up on the left is something I'm looking forward to. Plus, I think Sancho helps Nkunku as a 9 since he needs a link-up player to form triangles within the box. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Sancho. I really am. I think that it's becoming more and more hyped as I see more and more of him. But sort of the same with Felix as I had. Like, I didn't think we needed either of Felix or Sancho, but I'm still really like excited about them both being here because they are just footballers that I just enjoy. Um, so yeah, I love how Maresca has his core principles but makes tactical tweaks depending on the opponent. And this again is exactly what I said when people were saying he was too stubborn. And that he only plays 3-2-4-1 or 3-2-5. Not true. He has principles, like you say. He wants to keep possession. He wants to be aggressive off the ball. He wants to win the ball back. But everything else he'll tweak: numbers and positions and tactical fluid, like little asset, like a roles is the other word I'm looking for. A player's role and a player's position isn't important. It's about tweaking it per the opponent, but keeping the principles the same. So bang on, Seb. Bang on. Palmer, they'll be singing his tune, Generation. Is the best thing, GOAT. Big Palmer fan, you Bancho, but I mean, who isn't? Who isn't? Was Palmer dropping CDM part of the plan against Palace? Yeah. I'm not gonna speak about it again because I spoke about it. I've got a 13-minute video on my channel which speaks about it in a fair amount of detail. So go watch that first, and then if not, rewatch the start of this stream where we spoke about it again. Because I don't want to keep going over it. Because obviously people that have been in here since the start, they've already heard me say it. So yeah, go check those out and drop a like whilst you're there too. Because we are nearly at 100 likes on that other video, which considering I was off for like a week for my birthday, not bad to come back with my first video and have nearly 100 likes on it straight away. So that would be ideal. That's what we're trying to aim for now. Consistent 100 like videos. That's sort of my target for at least the next month or two. And then I'm going to try and progress again, try and hit 150 per video, 200, blah, 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 go from there. But we want to keep progressing. Forcing the inverting fullbacks into midfield stuff. Against Palace, we ended up with Fafana as an attacking fullback, not his most effective position. Gusto hasn't worked in midfield either yet. Again, I would say go watch my last video and watch the start of this stream because I did speak about it. I actually think this setup was really well done. Having Fafana as the right back to carry forwards, having Casado to be the progressive passer, and having Gusto as the more recovery oriented defender, but also to be able to drive in central areas. I actually think that was maximisation of all three. So yeah, I would say go check out the explanations that I've done on the other video, yesterday's video, and the start of today's stream. Hang on, let me try to get back to near the front. Should we expect our wingers to be less involved against back fives? No, I wouldn't say so. I think they were quite involved still. I mean, especially first half, Madueke was very involved. And again, and Neto had his moments, but also when we brought Felix on, the idea is still to make those 1v1s. So no, I wouldn't say to be less involved. I think if anything as well, their defensive output's more involved. So honestly, so blessed to have you as your content as a diehard Chelsea fan. Really appreciate that, Stefan. Really do appreciate that. We've had a lot of nice messages in the last few weeks about my content and about sort of how the trajectory of the channel's going. So yeah, I really do appreciate that. We're at 33 likes. Please, can we at least try and get to 50? We've got 55 people in the stream, 33 likes. So I'm going to leave it for now. I'm going to check it. I'll refresh it again in 5 minutes. Can we at least get that to 50? So we need 17 more likes to get that to 50. Please, if you're in here, please do drop a like. And if you're watching on Twitter, it would be much appreciated if you could just hop over to the YouTube. The link is in my bio on YouTube, and drop a like on the video, because that does really help me. Are you happy Cassidy is back? He's a squad player for me. Will he be important at one point or another? Possibly. But we'll just see on that. I'm of the two, I'm more focused on Carney and his progression. Probably one of the two opportunistic signings goes in next 2 years, if not both, Felix and Sancho. Yeah, that's not a bad prediction at all. Hey Connor, thought we didn't make enough noise for the second yellow for Hughes. We need more on the pitch leadership and intimidating aura. Well, we need the aura. Yeah, it was a bit quiet considering, wasn't it? It was interesting. That was a big part in the game as well. Definitely should have been sent off. Yeah, I do agree. It's a tough one to talk about after the game, because like obviously it's in the back of my mind. Still analysing the rest of the game, but one, it was a definite second yellow, and two, I don't disagree with what you've said about it either. So just seeing how the right back role is used. IMO, when Reece is fit, he gives us the whole different dimension. Gusto has been poor recently. Last few games, I do agree. But Reece can easily provide the right centre mid as well, not being a passing threat, but a goal threat as he can arrive in the box. That's true. Reece just gives you so many tactical versatility, like versatile options, because he can do pretty much everything on a football pitch. So yeah, I agree with that. The system seems to rely on number 8 providing an attacking threat and moving into key spaces. Do you see Enzo providing that threat? I think when you use Enzo as an 8, you're doing it in a different way. So to an extent, no. To an extent, yes. Does he make enough of these runs for me in the half spaces to peel away from the winger to get into these box areas? He does it a few times a game, but not enough. So in that sense, no. In terms of receiving in key spaces to create attacking threat for others, I think he peels off into these areas really well to then create the pass and create attacking threat for others. So Neto, Jackson, Madueke, Gusto, Palmer, whoever. So it's not he doesn't really create the attacking threat with the runs forwards, but in terms of dropping into pockets and progressing play, he creates threat for other people to form themselves. So it's a different type. But in the type that I'm assuming that you're alluding to, I would say no. We never had a player that we can believe in when things are not working, but now we do. He can make something out of. I wouldn't say never, because we had Hazard, but I agree with he's that sort of player. I feel like we lacked a bit of movement in the final third in the second half versus Palace. Nobody really made runs. They were just coming short to get the ball at their feet. Yeah, and I think this is sort of the combination of a few things. Like I say, the lower tempo, the higher tempo, sorry, things becoming rushed, and then people coming shorter to get the ball at their feet because they were getting more and more frustrated. So yeah, I agree. You're talking about Palmer, yeah. I've been on loads of channels, but you're one of the best analysts so far, so keep it up. Everyone hits the likes and subscribe. It's free and it helps the channel grow. Exactly, from Rich Moneymaker. It's free, and every single like just helps push the algorithm, so it really helps far more than anybody knows. It's obviously becomes very cliche as a YouTuber or like content creator to say, please hit the like button, do this, do that. It really helps, but it actually does, because it pushes the video and stream out to more and more people, which is priceless. A lot of love from Bancho in the chat here. Thank you, Bancho. I'm tentatively worried about Gusto's reputation, or reputationally. He's struggling a little with finding fitness and adapting to that new role. I don't think he's struggling to adapt to the new role. I think he's actually probably one of the best players in pre-season as the inverted role. I think he's struggled for form in the last few games and finding fitness to a degree. So let's see how he comes back from injury. But it's going to be interesting to see what we do without him for the next few weeks, because no matter what form he's in, he's just so important because of he is the Reece James cover, and Reece James, as we know, isn't the most reliable currently. People didn't give Enzo or Casado the grace, and now I've got to defend them every week, even though they're obviously great. I could see the same happening to Gusto. Yeah, I feel the same with Enzo and Casado. Hopefully it doesn't happen to Gusto, because the price tag isn't the same, so hopefully it doesn't breed the same negativity, but you could be right. Why don't we use the left side more often? See, it's funny you say that, because a lot more of our progressions this season have actually been coming from the left side. So we've sort of been progressing into the left and then attacking down the right. So obviously part of that is to do with the combination of Palmer and Madueke. So the idea has recently been progress into the Enzo space through a Colwill or a Gusto or a Casado from here, wherever, to then attack the right-hand side more. and that's been a theme. If you look at all three of the passing maps of the Premier League games and the progressive passes that have been played in all three games, what I've got on screen there, as scruffy as it looks on that screen, that has been more or less the pattern that we've seen in the first three games. Progress left, attack right, to put it very, very vaguely. What's your thoughts on the Lavia versus Rice debate? I didn't know there was a debate on him. Look, I rate Rice higher than most people do, so I'm not going to get into that. But Lavia, people know my thoughts on Lavia. I think he's world class potential, number 6. I wanted him at the club before we signed him. We finally got him. He spent all last year injured. All last season, I said how good he's going to be when he gets back. And now people are on it again. So let's see how that goes. I'm a big fan of Lavia. We're going to end the stream in a few minutes, guys. We have been going for an hour. And do need to go shortly. Neto was barely in the game against Palace. Forgot he was playing. He did struggle, and I think that's why he went off. But I also would have stuck with him a little bit earlier. I wouldn't say he struggled, actually. Struggled is a tough word, but like you say, I think he just didn't really put his imprint on the game. Overload the left side to leave Palmer and Madueke have more space. Yeah, exactly. Overload the left side, progress through the left side, then get onto the right side where you've got Palmer and Madueke in a 2v1/2v2. Quietly excited by Cole Fofana as a partnership. I agree when we get the midfield balance right, and I think we've got all the midfielders to have that. Balance, maybe not, because you haven't really got the space eater, but I think of what everything you can compile a midfield, because I think we have the second best midfield in the league in terms of like the actual abilities and potentials of the entire skill set of groups we've got, and that's if you include Andre Santos and all those as well, Leslie Kachukwu. You just have a bit of everything, so I think it's very possible to gain that balance from the group of them. Think that Reece can provide the width on the right while you play Palmer and Nkunku as advanced 8s. Could it work? Yes. But I think Madueke is too important, and I think having a right back, I've preferred it when we've had 2 1v1 wingers out wide rather than the overlapping. I know we saw Gusto doing it a little bit. I don't think we're as effective playing that way. At least against teams that are going to sit lower, maybe against the City or someone like that, or like an Arsenal, where that player can sort of start deeper and arrive late. But I prefer having those 2 1v1 wingers out there consistently to attack them. And I agree with that. There's no defence that can't be opened up by attack. Rajesh, following your content kind of gives the joy of scouting a player before he's recognised as world class. Keep shining. Let's go, my guy. Let's go. That's the aim, to become world class in the content industry, the content creation. Yeah, some big things coming. I'm talking to some other content creators, some other streamers, some other sort of brands and people. And yeah, we want to continue to grow the community that we've got here, and just have bigger and better things to go on to. So yeah, keep up with the streams and the YouTube videos, and you guys will all be a big part of the community as we grow it. We are on 39 likes. This is my last call for 11 more likes to get to 50. We're going to end the stream in a few minutes. Fidel Music official. Connor is certified. Let's go, Fidel. But I'll answer this last question. Oh, yeah, I'll get. Not a Chelsea question. Would your dream job be working in something like sports journalism or something to do with coaching? Right. So I'll end with this question because I get this a lot. So I've done coaching. I've been in coaching since I was 16. Enjoy it a lot, but wanted to sort of move into other stuff. At university, I did analysis, which I enjoy a lot, which is, again, why I'm doing all this. And my sort of the conclusion I came to is with analysis, when you work in clubs, which I did after leaving uni, you have to work extensively on that club. And what I think I enjoyed, or what I enjoy the idea of, is with content creation, I can work on so many different things. I can write about different teams, I can write about different players, and I can just sort of have free reign to do what I want with it. So in terms of this question, my dream job is to be within the football industry, content creation wise, work with Sky Sports, work with all these, like the overlap, all these things, appear on as many different channels, and just continue to do my analysis work in content form. and I do that with writing. I'm currently writing with quite a few different outlets. I do tactical writing for them, and again, one of my bigger dreams is to have my tactics stuff posted by Premier League, and again, I'm moving closer to that already. So little bits like that. That's pretty much the dream job. It's a whole host of things. Yeah, I'd love that. I would love that for the overlap fan debates. Um, yeah. This formation has just been moved around. By the way, this is nothing to do with how we'd have it. Obviously, I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say it would be like that. But yeah, I think we're gonna end it there. Trying to just make sure I didn't miss anything huge. Thank you for all the messages. As always, we've gone for about an hour. Don't ever stop doing this when you make it. Like, no, this is making it. I want these streams to become huge. Like, this is why Tactics Talk is basically like my first big sort of like, you could call it a series, I guess, on YouTube. Like, I've not really done series. Like, I do like breakdowns and stuff, like managerial breakdowns, player breakdowns, game breakdowns. But with Tactics Talk, like the Chelsea, it sort of feels like my own like show. So sort of like every week I do at least one Tactics Talk show for at least an hour, and we just get to talk in the chat, and I just enjoy it. So that is something that, as far as I continue to go and grow the channel, I want to keep Tactics Talk a big thing, and sort of make that something quite big in our community, because I think we're onto something with Tactics Talk. I really do. I think a lot of people enjoy it. Gets a lot of interaction. Gets a lot of people in the streams. Gets a lot of people tweeting about it. So yeah, thank you, Rich Money Makers. Could teach Poch. Maybe I'll get him on the channel one day. We'll talk tactics. But yeah, thanks again, everybody, for watching. Been an hour-long stream. Please do drop a like if you haven't already, because I'm gonna check when I come off the stream if we hit 50. So if you haven't already, drop a like on your way out, and it will help me hit that 50 before we end. And also, if you haven't, go like yesterday's video, which is nearly 100 likes. As I said, want to hit 100 likes on every video from now on. So go help that get to 100. I think we're like 10 or so away. And I'll see you guys next time. As I said, tomorrow, transfer video. So don't miss that, as I want to hear what you guys rate each of our transfers out of 10. So that'll be out tomorrow. And you all have to comment each rating for each player that we signed this summer. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys, for watching. See you guys next time.